We have 2 events every month. We have this happy hour on the 4th Friday of every month. We also have a breakfast club every month as well. So if you come up to friscodemocrats.org, you can get more information there about all of our events. I'm going to jump right into it. We've got quite the agenda here today. We have a couple of keynote speakers. We got 3 of them. And we also have quite a few candidates in the audience. If you're a candidate, can you raise your hand? Who here is running for office right now? Raise your hands way up. Keep them on the edge so everyone can see you. All right? And after the keynote speakers, we're going to allow each of them to give some time to introduce themselves. But first, before all that, I do want to talk about our membership in Advertiser Club. If you look on your desks right now, you should see a QR code up there, advertising our club. It would mean the world to us if you would become a member. All you got to do is just scan in this QR code. It really helps us out. Please understand, we're not just a club, we are also a PAC. It means that we support our local candidates. So if you want to become a member, then we'd be very appreciative. I'm going to probably say that more than a couple times tonight because, well, my whole life's too, right? All right, aside from that, I want to also say, I'm going to jump right into it because we got a full agenda. We have 3 individual speakers tonight that I want to bring up before we get into our candidates. And the first speaker we're going to have a man by the name of Ira Burchak. Ira, do you want to tell us who you are and all about them together?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Is anybody in this room interested in local politics? If you came to a meeting on a Friday night in a bar, so I just wanted to put that out. So I know a lot of people in this room. I'm thrilled to be back in this room. As a means of introduction for people that I have not met, my name is Ira Burchak, and about 8 years ago I got involved in local politics. I spent a couple years with the Denton County Democratic Party as communication chair, and then some of the best times I ever had, I spent 2 years as Frisco Democratic Club president. It was a great experience, and we did a lot of really good things. And then I moved on, as I moved away from Frisco, I've been president of this PAC called Tent Together for the past few years. And so that's what I've come here to tell you about tonight. And again, the first thing I want to do is just thank you for attending. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Like, you're here. And that's the biggest challenge in this world is volunteer, local politics, is just to get people to show up. And so the fact that you're here means a lot. None of us ever take that for granted. I want to tell you that I've come here with one single message tonight, and that's the message I want you to hear and then take away from here and share. And the message is this: there is only one goal of politics, period. What is that goal? To win. And anything short of that is to lose. And so I want to talk about that tonight because I feel like in my time in the last 8 years, a lot of times we have a bunch of other goals, which are really just supporting planks of winning. And so you talk about media, you talk about recruiting candidates or precinct chairs, or even things like diversity and inclusion. Those are all things that happen when we do this, but I want the message to be that the goal should be to win. And so let's talk about winning in elections. So back in 2020, we started Tent Together. It's kind of a tough time to start, but we came out of the gate strong. We focused exclusively within Denton County, and we've won over the next 2.5 years 14 races in Denton County. 14 races. That's huge. That's like 800 years. That's like 800 years worth of wins, right? Think about it. 14 wins. I mean, there's not a lot of counties that can say that outside of the big urban counties in the state. And so what happened was in late 22 and early 23, we kind of took a break, like a lot of people did. Some of my team went to the county party to work on partisan races. Some of my team and I just said, we're going to sit this out. And so we did. And then back in November, just a few months ago, kind of like the Michael Corleone thing, where you say, just when I think I'm out, they pull you back in. We're back in. And I'm excited to be here. And so I want to tell you about what our focus is and how you can potentially be involved with us. Then Together is not a big, massive organization. People think we've got dozens and dozens of people. That's not what we do. It's not what we do. We're a coalition. We're the center spoke of a wheel. And what we're trying to do is connect clubs, county parties, candidates, elected officials, and anybody else that wants to volunteer, precinct chairs, etc., to work together. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to compete with other organizations or county parties. But what we have is the ability to rally people, to get people to show up and to help out. And if we accept that the number one goal is winning, that's kind of what we're selling. And what I tell people is, I can pay you, I cannot pay you. I don't know. So I just hit a 3 behind me. I cannot pay you back in anything but the pride of a job well done. The pride of knowing that when you help organizations like this, or when you volunteer, or whether it's Frisco Democratic Club itself, what you get is you get to show up on election night and be with a person whose life has just been changed because they won their election, and then they're going to be in their city helping people govern locally. And you know, we've got candidates that are in these fast-growing cities. And again, I realize I think I'm technically standing in Collin County right this second right now. Yes, but we're a couple yards away from Denton County. And so Denton County, and that's always the challenge of working in Frisco, right? Because it's divided by 2 counties, and that means you have double the partisan races, etc. But we're trying to change a lot of them. So just so you know, when I talk about local politics, I don't want you to only think about your city. I know that's easy to do. I know we're sitting in Frisco at the Frisco Democratic Club meeting, but try to expand that a little bit. Local politics, county, whatever county you're in. For us, Denton could be Collin, could be Dallas. I feel like sometimes we either tend to focus on the big national stuff, and we're giving money to candidates that already have like hundreds of millions, $billions, versus looking locally. But don't go all the way down to only your city. That's hugely important. You're going to hear from some candidates that are going to tell you contrary because they're running for Frisco City Council tonight. But I think they would agree if you take a step back that local politics means where you live. Because where you live is also in your county. A lot of stuff is done that way. And so what I wanted to say is this also. This is a Democratic club, right? Isn't any Democrats in the House tonight? By the way? All I keep hearing is, we don't have any messaging. What's our messaging? We don't have any messaging. So I'm not here to unveil some grand messaging on a national scale, but I'll tell you this. I think one of the reasons that we're losing a lot of elections is not only because we don't have messaging, but because there's like 1,000 different views on what it should be. And I feel like the other party has kind of tagged us with the things that they want us to be. Like, when did we become anti-patriotic? When did that happen? Because they say it. When did it become that we don't all of a sudden support public safety, fire, and police? I know we do. I think we've got to step into this kind of stuff and not be afraid, again, on a local level as well, to not just accept the messaging that we're tagged with. I'm a recruiter. That's what I do for a living. I place people in companies. I've spent 28 years understanding that you can be both pro-business and pro-employee. Whether it's union or just pro-employee, you can be both. And finally, you can be pro-growth. If you're running for a race here in Denton County or Collin County, Denton County is like the 6th largest county in the state, fastest growing, and you want to run for office and you're then going to be charged with stewarding that growth, then my question is, how can you be against growth? How can you? You can, but I don't think it's a very good strategy. So we're saying, take that message back. But oh, by the way, how about smart or responsible growth? Yes, we want to grow. Yes, we're going to develop. The land is there, it's being improved, but also don't pollute, etc. And all the different messaging that we're tagged with, whether it's anti-guns or open borders, that's just a bunch of BS, unless we accept it. And we've been accepting it. So don't accept that anymore. And let's continue to build the script. I feel like I'm on Shorter Street. This is like the 4th different club that I've been to. But what I love what I'm seeing is the energy, the attendance. It's Friday night. Like, it's not lost on me that we're standing here on a Friday night and there's this many people in here. So finally, I think that's the biggest stuff that I want to talk. I'm going to quickly introduce my partner, who many of you also know, and she'll kind of introduce herself and just close us out. But I want to say to you, thank you. Keep us in mind. If you want to donate, great. If you don't, donate to Frisco Democratic Club at least. They do great work, and I'm very proud of them. I love being back here. And so thank you for your time, and I'll bring up Debbie O'Reilly real quick.
Hello, Frisco Democrats. It's wonderful to see you. I know so many familiar faces here from my work in Collin County, and I was executive director, did some congressional campaigns and whatnot, and you know, it's been a whirlwind. I cannot state how happy I've been just working with Democrats, being with Democrats. I wanted to say, you know, so many people, I want to help, I want to do something. What do I do? There's so people that are just kind of lost sometimes. You know, I want to reach out, I want to connect. 2 things, the clubs and precinct chairs. right there. If you can get all the precinct chairs in Frisco, we got to build precinct chairs in Frisco. We got to get leadership, block captains. We have to turn the energy into activism. I know one of the reasons I became involved in politics was so much anxiety watching what's going on and just like, oh my God, it's too much. And just not wanting to sit there in front of the TV anymore and wanting to get out. So I really thank the Frisco Democrats. I've been a member of this group for quite a while and I've been connected with it. Let's continue to build this club. Let's continue to recruit more precinct chairs and train more volunteers that get out there and do the work, because it's about the work and it's about winning. I'll let the next speaker come up. It was good to see you all. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That was again getting together, and we can find out more information from where?
Well, we'll be passing out our cards. Also, the website is debttogether.net. Debttogether.net.
All right, .net, don't forget that. Debttogether.net. All right, next I have Georgina wants to come up here. She's a very active activist in our community. She's been showing up to a lot of events recently, particularly to our IOCs and our boards, and I want to give her some time to tell you about a couple of things. So, Georgina, take it away.
Thank you, Dale. Dale and Chris have both been very helpful as well, so quite a few people in this room have helped out here and there. So I guess you're kind of wondering, why am I here? Well, have you guys been familiar or heard about the education, our school funding, the lack of it, schools closing down, maybe not having all the resources we used to? Yeah. Back in December, I went to an LIAC school board meeting and watched them close down 5 schools and decided that was pretty much 5 too many, especially since we'd already closed down the school about a year or 2 before. So I started getting involved, and the more I learned, the more I realized we're not just underfunded, we have been divested in. They are literally taking away money. We have not raised our basic allotment since 2019. With 26% inflation, that is a $1,600 gap, just barely the average in the U.S. We have an 8th largest economy in the world, not Texas, the world, and we're 43 out of 50 for funding. So I got pissed, and then I got active, and then I started going to places and telling people I'm pissed and I'm active. And they go, what's the name of your group? I said, the Angry Mom Group. I don't have a name. So I went to Austin on Monday pretty much with that attitude. Everything that I've learned, all the information that I've got, I put together what's called a community impact report. And it really goes through how underfunding our kids doesn't just affect them. So when somebody goes, why should I care? Well, so because it's going to affect your property value. It's going to affect whether or not you have roads to drive on, whether or not your toilet flushes and it doesn't end up in your front yard. This is why you care. Because companies don't invest in areas that divest in their people. And that's exactly what Texas is doing. And it's not just in our area, it's across all of Texas. So I went up there Monday, I took my impact report. And I think we all have Jared Patterson pretty much as a person, right? Is he everybody's house rep? Yeah. Okay. Well, this was fun because I talked to his office the week before and I got the runaround. Oh, yeah, Patterson cares about education. I said, oh, that's great. I said, but that's not what I asked. I said, is Patterson going to raise the per student allotment? Oh, well, we don't know about that. That's not on his committee. We don't know. So, well, thank you for the political answer. So Monday I went up there about 6 inches away from the same guy. I shook his hand and said, here's my community impact report, and here's how not investing in our schools is going to affect your community, the community that Jared Patterson's kids go to. And when he found out that we were going to city council meetings and telling them that eventually they're not going to be flushing their toilets too, his face went completely white. It was one of the funnest times I've ever had. So that's really kind of what I've been doing and up to. Just trying to educate everybody that funding schools is not just about the kids. We have to start telling people that it does matter to them. That if they don't want to lose $100,000 or $200,000 off their home values, they have to fund our schools. If they want companies to continue to invest, they have to fund. If they don't want to build prisons, they need to fund our schools because that's what's next. If you don't educate our kids, they can't work. If they can't work, companies don't come here. So, anyways, I have these little pieces of paper. It has our the little website on there has the little legislators on there that are all in the education committee. Call them, email them, especially the chair and the vice chair. I will be up there in a couple of weeks from now, sitting down and going over my community impact report with them as well, to let them know that we know what they're doing to our communities, and we're done with it. So, and if anybody would like one, there's right back there on the table. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. You know, now that I think about it, I got a little too excited about that trip. Let me give you, yes.
So Gina, are you going to make another trip back to visit representatives that you visited with?
I am, thank you. I'm going back to Austin in a couple of weeks. I'm going to schedule that on Monday. I'll be meeting with the chair and the vice chair of the education committee and anybody else who will listen to me. Now, I do have some people, because like I said, we've been going to the city council meetings. So we've got some city council members who are also going to write letters or have offered to testify. We've also got some school board members who have shown interest and one who's willing to go up there with me to Austin. Mostly because they understand the impact and they see what's happening. We have Frisco that's $31 million deficit, LISD that's $22 million, Frisco that's $24 million, and Dallas ISD is $186 million deficit. Yeah, I forgot to tell you that part. So when you start to really put it down, you put it in numbers and you explain it on something that actually has citations and real information and not something made up in a newspaper, people start to listen. Thank you guys very much. Do you have any other questions? So I think they made some changes on the school voucher, so I believe it needs to, if it doesn't go back to the Senate, I know it has two places it has to go to in the House. That House has approved it. But before it can actually do anything, it has to be funded. So once the House approves it, it has to fund it. Right now, it's still kind of in limbo. It hasn't been fully approved as far as I know, but it's as close as it has ever been. But regardless of the vouchers, if we don't fund our schools, it won't matter if vouchers go through or not. Some of them are on the brink of foreclosure. And before they foreclose, they're going to close schools down. Most of them haven't had to fire any teachers. They just lost most of them through attrition. But next would be firing them. The situation is desperate. I don't know how Dallas is running with a $186 million deficit. Frisco, I think, only has $70 million in their reserve. So they're only 2 years from going bankrupt as well. Anything? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Again, the literature she was talking about, those papers are right up there in the bar. You can get one when you want. But we got one more speaker here tonight. Her name is Ann, and she has a little bit of a slideshow to show you right here.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Ann Drum. I'm from Dallas. I am a volunteer for a national nonpartisan organization called American Promise. We are singularly focused on addressing the issue of the corrupting influence of big money in American politics with a constitutional amendment to undo what the Supreme Court has done to us. I am also a Democrat, and I am here with feeling a pretty strong fighting urge tonight because of what happened today. But I have not and I will not give up on the idea that democracy requires us to work with each other across partisan lines when we have the opportunity to do that. And I am here tonight with good news for all of you, which is on this issue of money in politics, we have such an opportunity. I have a shortened version of my regular talk. I'd like to direct your attention to that screen. I'm going to go through just a few slides and then have a few minutes for discussion. It's not advancing. Oh wait, is it on? Yeah. Okay. Is it log in? It is. Here, okay, just advance. Okay, we'll just do the manual advancing thing. All right, so when the founders set up our government, they did something revolutionary. It was the first time anyone had ever established a government with the idea of popular sovereignty, that the people are the legitimate source of the government's power and authority. And they decided to implement that idea of popular sovereignty through creating a republic, a form of government that has a scheme of representation. Next. And so a republic is dependent on a sacrosanct relationship between constituents and the representatives who represent us in government. Next. But we have evolved a system where other interests are infringing on this relationship between citizens and their representatives. Other interests being outside donors, super PACs, dark money groups, billionaires from outside the district, outside the state, and even outside the country. And they are competing with constituents for the attention and the vote of their representatives. And people see this, and they are angry about it. And they become very cynical, and they drop out, and they don't participate. This is a crisis for democracy. Next. And it has become clear that the issue of money in politics has become a threat to democracy. And we found polling out of Rice University from late last year that said 9 out of 10 Texas voters agree the influence of money in politics poses a threat to democracy. Now stop for a minute and do the math. 9 out of 10 voters, these are not all Democrats, that's saying that money in politics is a threat to democracy. Next. So I want to talk about dark money, which is that spending where the source of the money is not disclosed. Let's say you've got some money and you want to spend it to influence politics, but you don't want the public to know that you are the source of the money. So what do? Next. You donate some money to one of these 501c4 groups, these so-called social welfare nonprofits that do not disclose their donors. So let me show you how this can play out. Next. Let's say we've got an ordinary gentleman, the guy in the yellow shirt, he's got a little bit of money to spend on politics. What can he do with it? Next. I'm sorry, the colors on the screen have gotten reversed here, so this is hard to read. Let me just tell you what this slide says. Our gentleman in the yellow sweater can donate to congressional campaigns within limits. He can donate $3,300 to a campaign in a particular cycle. He can also donate $5,000 to a traditional political action committee. So big logic, probably his employer's corporate PAC. So, of course, we all know the vast majority of Americans don't have anywhere near that much money to spend on politics. But the point is, there are limits to what the ordinary citizen can do. But then we have a Mr. Daddy Moneybags, and we want to look at what he can do. Well, he can do the same thing that our ordinary citizens can do within the same limits, but he can do so much more. Let's advance the slide and see if any of this shows up on that dark background. What this slide is trying to tell you is that Mr. Moneybags can give as much money as he wants to as many super PACs as he wants to. He can give as much money as he wants to as many of these dark money groups as he wants to. He can even spend his own money. He can buy radio and TV and social media and newspaper ads if he wants to. And those super PACs and dark money groups can spend as much money as they want to. So the point is, what's available to Mr. Moneybags that's not available to our ordinary citizen is unlimited spending to influence politics. Let's go to the next slide. And so this is some data from the Open Secrets website about dark money in our political campaigns. 2 things to take away from this slide. Number 1, look at how quickly it has escalated in recent cycles. And then the second thing to take away, the red and the blue, this is not a partisan problem. This is not a problem of Republicans or Democrats, because both parties have learned how to play the dark money game. This is a systemic problem that needs a systemic solution. Next slide. Dark money groups are the way that foreign entities and actors seek to influence U.S. elections. So you know, I'm sure, that it's illegal for foreigners to give directly to U.S. campaigns. But it is perfectly legal for them to give unlimited amounts of money to these 501c4 dark money groups. And then the dark money groups and the super PACs move the money around in very complicated ways designed to obscure the source of the money and the agenda behind that money. Next. And so how did we get here? This is a result of about 50 years of Supreme Court decisions. The court has basically taken away the power of lawmakers to enact common sense campaign finance reform. And it started with a 1976 case called Buckley versus Vallejo. Next, please. So this is the case where the court said that political spending, money in politics, is speech. And because we protect speech under the First Amendment, then the court reasoned that lawmakers cannot set any limits on what these independent entities like super PACs and dark money groups, as well as billionaires, can spend to influence our elections. And that opened the floodgates to the explosion of money in our politics. But here's the problem. The court was wrong. Money isn't speech. Money is power. And when you give certain people disproportionate political power just because they have more money, then you are undermining the founders' whole idea of a system of representation based on the idea of popular sovereignty. Next. So, what is the answer to this? It's a constitutional amendment. We have to change the jurisprudence to take campaign finance legislation out of the hands of the Supreme Court and give it back to legislatures where it belongs. And the version that we are advocating for, we call it the 4-Hour Freedom Amendment. It is a short 3 paragraphs, but go to the next slide and I'll read you the operative language. Nothing in this Constitution shall be construed to forbid Congress or the states within their respective jurisdictions from reasonably regulating and limiting contributions and spending in campaigns, elections, or ballot measures. So go to the next slide, please, Noel. So I want to talk about public support for a constitutional amendment to deal with money in politics. It's about 3/4 of Americans. You won't be surprised, 76% of Texas Democrats say we support it. Next. But here's the hopeful thing. 75% of Texas Republicans support it too. So while there are things we have to fight about, when we can seize the opportunity to work together for a fundamental systemic reform, we should take it. And I am here to invite you to help us. I'm going to start around a sign-up sheet. If you would like to get an occasional email about what we're doing in Texas, sign up on that list. We are having our first Texas Lobby Day in Austin on Thursday, April 3rd. If you are interested in participating, make sure that you get on our email list or talk to me, because we're going to be talking to legislators in Austin as we prepare the ground for successful ratification of a constitutional amendment. Over there on the bar, I put out a bunch of my business cards. The text of the constitutional amendment is on the back of my business card. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk tonight. Do we have a few minutes for some dialogue? Yes. Okay. Questions, comments, anybody? Bert.
Hi, good to see you. Thank you again for doing this. One question I have is, how do we eliminate the opportunities for dark money to exist via PACs, super PACs, etc., at the local level, at the local and municipal level?
Well, there's 2 things that need to happen. One, we need disclosure legislation. And under current jurisprudence, disclosure legislation is still constitutional. We all know, though, that sometimes the court can change its position on things. So one of the reasons we want the constitutional amendment is it will make sure that disclosure legislation remains constitutional. But the other thing we need to do is put limits on giving, because just disclosing the source, well, that's shining some light on the problem, but that's not fixing the problem. The billionaires can still pour millions of dollars into these groups and use that money to influence the outcome of elections. And right now, lawmakers have no power to put any kind of limits on that money. They can't limit the amount of money. They can't limit where the money is coming from. So that's why we need the constitutional amendment, is to give them those tools to do that kind of lawmaking. Yes, sir.
My name's Jerry. This is Deanna. This is our first time here. So I wanted to ask a question. On that section 2 where you use the word reasonable, doesn't that give a foothold for the Supreme Court to define what that means?
So no, it gives legislators the power to decide what they think is reasonable. So I want to be clear that we are not trying to tell lawmakers what legislation they should write. We just want to remove the obstacle that is keeping them from writing legislation and return campaign finance law to the normal lawmaking process. And then you're going to have the negotiations that go on about what does reasonable mean and what kind of legislation comes out of Congress pertaining to federal elections and the legislation that comes out of the State House in Austin pertaining to Texas elections. Those may look different, but that's part of what reasonable means, is that lawmakers can design the rules that they think are appropriate for their jurisdictions. The problem is right now, the Supreme Court just won't let them write any rules. Yes?
I just want to be clear. Because it says Congress of the States, and when I was listening to you and you were talking about going to Austin, at first I was saying, oh, this is where the Texas Constitution.
Let me clarify. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. We are talking about an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. But the reason we're going to Austin is because the way you amend the U.S. Constitution is that it passes out of Congress with 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate. Then it has to go down to legislatures, and it has to pass 3/4 of the state legislatures, or 38 legislatures. So the first step is to get it out of Congress, and then the second step is to get the Texas legislature to approve it. And so the reason we're doing a lobby day in Austin is we are starting to prepare the ground for ratification of a constitutional amendment by the Texas legislature. Because we got to have 38 states ratify for it to go into effect. And I want Texas to be one of those states. Yes, who has another question, comment?
So 501c, so there is no obligation that they can disclose the money received?
Right. 501c4 organizations do not have to disclose their donors. Now, Congress could pass disclosure laws. Congress has chosen so far not to require disclosure. And we want to guard against the possibility that the Supreme Court changes its mind, and we want to ensure the disclosure law remains constitutional. So that's one of the reasons we need the amendment.
Or
Yes.
if anyone wants to get disclosure, then the law should be, they should do it. It doesn't.
Well, I certainly wish Congress would require disclosure of donations to dark money groups. And I had Pete Sessions tell me at the town hall a few years ago that he thought they should too, but they have so far chosen not to approve the disclosure legislation that has been introduced in Congress. Okay, who else? Yes?
How did it happen that dark money can come from like outside of the United States and in any amount? That's not Citizens United.
Well, but Congress has never written a law saying that foreign entities are prohibited from making donations to 501c4 groups, and they use it. And,
The question is, why can't, Congress can make legislation now to reform campaign finance, why do we need a constitutional amendment?
well, okay, so there are some things that Congress still has the power to do. Disclosure legislation is one of the very few things that it still has the power to do. But things that it no longer has the power to do because of what the Supreme Court has ruled, it cannot set any limits on amounts. So even if it were to require disclosure to dark money groups, it can't set any limits on how much a billionaire can give to a dark money group. It can't set any geographical limits You can't set any rules that say, if you live in New York, you can't give to a dark money group that's created to influence elections in Texas. And we had an example of that a few years ago. Y'all remember the dark money group Could Have Been Worse LLC? That was a out-of-state dark money group. I don't think we still know who was behind that. That spent at least $25 million against, it was a Democratic dark money group. It spent money against Abbott and Patrick and Paxton. So they can't put any limits on that. They also cannot distinguish between flesh and blood human beings and artificial entities. And so that's why we need the constitutional amendment, is to change the jurisprudence so that lawmakers can write those kinds of distinctions into the law. All right. Well, I don't see any other hands. Again, let me just start. I'm going to start this around. If anybody is interested in what we're doing, please put your name on my list or grab one of my cards on the way out. One more quick question.
How long of a process do you think this will be?
We are hoping to get the constitutional amendment passed out of Congress by the end of next congressional session. So that would be 2028, and then it would go down to the states for ratification. But that's why we want Texas to be ready, because then we want it to be approved in the following legislature. All right, thank y'all very much for your attention. I really appreciate it.
All right. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Let's give it one more time. Another round of applause for all feel like a minute. Thank you all very much. It's very informative, and thank you very much. Now, again, we got one more section tonight. It's a big raise of hands. Who here is running for office right now? Who's a candidate in the room? All right. Now, of those of you who would like to come up here and introduce yourselves.
We haven't been here before.
All right. She's been here before. It's not her first rodeo. She knows how to talk to you guys. All right. This is someone who is running for Frisco City Council, right? Okay, place four. Well, one more thing before I want to remind our candidates as well. I sometimes get a little bit nervous. Please don't stand behind the speaker because it introduces like a feedback loop. So if you want to come up here and then talk to the Frisco Democratic Club, introduce yourself and say who you're running for. We're asking everyone to give about 2 minutes tops.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sangeeta Datta, and I'm running for City Council Place 4. With me, we have 4 other candidates who are running over there. And my vision for Frisco is pretty simple. It's all about future Frisco. Whatever's happening in Frisco has been already dealt with many years ago. Right now, we're talking about the children and the generations coming around. Frisco has become somewhere where we are doing a lot of construction, a lot of brown is coming in. We've grown beautifully, but now I think it's time we switch to a maintenance mode. We still need our green spaces, we need our families. So Frisco is literally a larger family where we need our families to still thrive the way it is. We need to create jobs over here. We need to support our first responders. When I say support our first responders, I mean teachers, our public works, the law enforcement, and our firefighters. Because our wants are being entertained, our needs are being taken away. So I want to make sure that we stand up for all the needs right now and make sure Frisco still thrives the way we've developed ourselves on the globe, and people still want to come over here without overcrowding the place. Others around over here, my other opponents, they have different agendas in mind, and over here, I'm not a politician. I'm a community worker who's just stepping it up to make a larger impact to people who don't know me as yet. So I really wish to entertain any questions you may have. My flyers are right here, and even if you'd like to support me, I have my yard signs as well. Please feel free to, thank you. So please feel free to take one, and if you have any questions, I would love to answer all of them. Thank you very much. Sangeeta Datta, Place 4. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sangeeta. That was very informative. Again, as a reminder, these are for our municipal elections coming up in May. We have elections coming up in May. That's going to be for your city council and for your ISC, independent school boards. All right, we've got a couple more candidates who are going to come on up here, right, guys? All right? All right. Please introduce yourself and say you're looking for.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Amit Kalra. I'm a physical therapist. I'm running for the school board in place 1. I've been associated with Frisco ISD since 2015 when my child went to early child intervention school. Since then, I've been involved. I've tried to get him into the FISD board. I've been a part of the Frisco ISD bond committee. I've been a part of the Frisco ISD district advisory committee, their capital projects committee. So I've total volunteered in there. I've also had a presidential volunteer service award when I was studying back in Cal State Northridge. I moved from LA to Texas. I'm deeply engrossed in education, and I'm against school vouchers. Because they solve no purpose. They have a very short-lived advantage that they're trying to sell, but it will hurt public education as a whole. And once public education goes away, it's really hard to sustain, get it back. And we've seen that how the effect is happening in Dallas ISD, Richardson ISD, Plano ISD. The ripple effect will now come towards Frisco because what was happening in Plano 10 years ago is not happening in Frisco. And then as teachers, they need to get support, but we're getting strangled by the funds not being released by the state. I understand what it takes for the operations that deeply involved Frisco ISD. I'm open to any questions that you may have, and I would like to earn your vote for this year's election.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, it is very important that we stand up against the school voucher scam. Our schools are already defunded as it is, and if that school voucher scam passes, guys, it's going to be the final nail in the coffin for our public education system. Now, we got another candidate, so also running for office. Please introduce yourself. Sure. Go ahead. Tell us who you are and what you're running for, sir. Thank you very much. It's Bert. There you go.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bert Thacker. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I served during 9/11. I'm an immigrant. I'm a Jeopardy champion. I appeared on the last episode with Alex Trebek. And I'm running for Frisco City Council, place 2. I'm a Republican. But then again, so are many people in my race. Tammy voted in the Republican primary in 2024. And Sangeeta is a Republican. So is Gopal. So is Jared. And what I say is this. Partisanship does not solve local problems. I mean, how does partisanship fix a pothole? Or the fact that our schools are grossly unfunded? Or the fact that our fire and police are being reactively staffed as opposed to proactively staffed? Or the fact that our city council is leading the charge to fund $160 million for a performing arts center when Frisco ISD is already building one for $54 million. And none of that money is going to go for the benefit of teachers or for research. They're also cutting music programs, they're cutting gifted programs, and guess what? I make sure that hyperscale data centers for the benefit of artificial intelligence are built correctly. The most powerful supercomputers are now being built here in Texas, and I'm overseeing it. Those are the kind of jobs I want to bring here. I want to make sure that our budget is spent. I want to make sure we lower our taxes by sending back the municipal bonds that have been unspent. I want to make sure that we have responsible leadership in government. And most importantly, I want to start building a bridge. I'm not here to change your party affiliation, far from it. I'm asking you for a moment to bury it so we can change it to being able to have a meaningful conversation. I am being supported very happily by my community. I'm being supported by my neighbors, my friends, because ultimately, I'm an immigrant. And I got my citizenship while serving in the Navy. So, thank you very much for listening to me. If you'd like to know more, BertForFrisco.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being open. Do we have one more candidate in the room? Did I see another hand up earlier? Yes.
I was like, this is my turn. Sorry, Bert.
No worries.
Can I
use the restroom? I gotta wait.
Nice. Tell us your name, sir, how to contact you, and what you're running for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Wheatley. So I'm running for Congress here in Congressional District 3. So how many of you out there feel unseen or even unheard by our very own government? Okay. Listen, I feel your frustration, and I understand that things seem hopeless right now. But as a public school teacher, I go to work every single day, and I see my students, who I don't get to choose their backgrounds. I don't get to choose whether their families are Democratic or Republican. What I do get to choose is the amount of work that I put in. So I go to work, I put in hard work so that I can give them a chance at the future. They are the reason that right now we cannot and will not give up. Yes, things are grim and gray, but if we surrender now, progress will never be made. I'm running for Congress because I believe that the government should work for the people and not itself. I grew up in a working class family. People who work hard, play by the rules, and sacrifice. But when my dad lost his job due to partisan politics, we learned the hard way that the system isn't built for families like ours. So if elected as your next congressman, I would invest in public education at the federal level, work hard on a public health care option so you don't have to make the choice between putting food on your table and going to the doctor. Invest in our safer communities, help rebuild infrastructure, secure water for the future, and work on a comprehensive bipartisan immigration bill. Okay? Now once again, now is not the time to tuck tail and turn. Now is the time to fight back. Now is the time to do the hard work. So I hope that you will join me in the fight for the working class, and I hope that you will join me for the fight for you and your families. Because now is the time to roll up your sleeves, do the work, because enough is enough. Thank you. My name is Jordan Wheatley, and I'm running for Congress from Frisco.
Thank you very much. Thank you all to all the candidates and they're introducing yourselves. Just last call, is there any other candidates in the room that want to introduce themselves? If not, we got like one more speaker that's going to come on up here. But also our candidates are going to hopefully hang around for a little bit, so you're going to get some time to talk to them. I think one of the candidates just like whispered into my ear saying they were labeled a Republican when that individual candidate does not agree apparently. But you're going to have the opportunity right now tonight to talk with all these candidates and get to know them better. Now that being said, I think Jeremy is the DNC county level chair of the Collin County, and he's going to come up here and talk about Collin County politics for the Democratic Party and a little bit about its precinct chairs.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Sitka. I'm the Collin County Democratic Party chair. So if you live in Collin County and you're a Democrat, I represent you and help run the organization that goes and helps recruit candidates, recruit precinct chairs, and help us win elections. Our mission is to elect Democrats and to promote democratic values. So if you're running in a municipal race and you are a Democrat, we have on our newsletter a link for you to go and get endorsed by us. We only endorse Democrats, just so you know. Our mission is only accomplished by having enough activists to go and accomplish it. We need precinct chairs. We need candidates. We need volunteers. We need people at all levels of our county party to go and help us win the race. We are going to help those municipal candidates, the ones you saw earlier that are Democrats, but we are focused on 2026. The only way to end the tyranny that's going on in Austin and in DC right now is to elect the people out. As Ira said earlier, we have to win elections. So the only way we can do it is to win. How do we win? We have an army of people that are ready to go and fight. We have a plan in place so that when the candidates file in September this year, we hand them a data packet that shows them what their win number is. If the turnout is 50%, if it's 55%, if it's 60%, they know exactly what they need to win. That is what we're going to be working on. So how do you help? Go to callindemocrats.org, go to the Get Involved tab if you're interested in being a precinct chair. There's a link there that describes everything about being a precinct chair. If you're interested, there's also a sign up for the newsletter. Our newsletter has probably about 15 different things that it was sent out yesterday. Tons of information. Tomorrow we have a rally, protest that's going to be happening outside Keith Self's Town Hall in Wiley, Calling College Wiley. If you can go, we need to hold, I don't know if you saw his reaction to Trump today, horrible. We need to go and protest. We're going to have protests outside, we're going to have tough questions inside. So we're going to do that. The other thing is on our website right now, we have a community survey. We want to know what issues are important to the people. We can't run on bad messaging, and the way we know what messages work is we know what issues are important. So that is my pitch to you. Get involved, be a part of our army. CallinDemocrats.org, all the information's there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of our speakers tonight. Thank you for all the candidates for showing up. I just want to press this just one more time, guys, as a reminder. QR code's right there on the desks in front of you. Hopefully I made enough. Is Bert here?
You made a wrong statement about Sangeeta.
Yeah. I don't appreciate the fact that he mentioned about myself. That's not true. You know, so I don't appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why he said so, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
He said, I'm Republican and she's also Republican.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
But
Okay.
she's not.
All right. Well, thank you for telling everyone. That's duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to thank. So again, one more time, I'm going to press this over and over again as much as I can. QR codes. If you want to become a member of the Frisco Democratic Club, it would really help us out a lot. It helps us run events like this. It also helps out our candidates, because again, we are also a PAC. We support our local candidates. Aside from that too, we also couldn't do it without our board. If you're a board member, please raise your hand. Sharon, you're a board member, raise your hand. Okay, thank you to all our board members here. It's due to them that we're able to do what we do. I know we're about running out of time. Ruben over there, Ruben, raise your hand. If you want to know what's going on in local city council things in Frisco, go to this guy right here with his arm up, and he'll tell you about that. Let's go on to. Oh yeah, get that in a second. But before I get to that, first I need to advertise Raptor Roofing. Raptor Roofing is one of our sponsors, so if you ever have hail damage or anything like that, you're eventually going to need it. Raptor Roofing is the place to go. Also, Tanya Dangerfield is another one of our sponsors. She's a real estate agent. If you're looking for a house or looking to sell your house, Tanya Dangerfield, that's the person to go to. We have it up on the screen right there. Raptor Roofing and Tanya Dangerfield. And along with that, of course, I also cannot also forget to mention our wait staff for here at Jake's. I mean, we have one of the nicest wait staff here. It took the Frisco Democratic Club a long time to find a very welcoming place like this. And so thank you very much for wait staff. Please tip them. We really appreciate their help. And now with that said, you can continue to hang out. Please do. I ask our candidates to also please hang out. This is one of the greatest opportunities you're going to get to walk on the floor and walk up to your candidates and hear more about them and ask them any questions that you have, one-on-one. It's a great opportunity for the municipal elections that are coming up in May for our city councils and our ISD boards, independent school district boards. That said, thank you all very much for showing up. Again, FriscoDemocrats.org for more information and more events. And again, QR code right there with more information on your desk. Thank you all very much.